Welcome to the first installment of Secrets in Gravity Falls, where I share my favorite details in Disney's beloved mystery cartoon, such as foreshadowing, Easter eggs, behind-the-scenes trivia, and other details you may have missed. If you've seen our Secrets in Steven Universe videos, you already know what the deal is. But for everyone else, I hope you're able to learn at least one new thing, regardless if you just got into this show in recent years, or if you're a seasoned fan who's been following the Pines family since 2012. At the very least, I hope it's a nice stroll down memory lane. Let's get started. Have you ever wondered what the deal is with Wendy and her family? She confessed in Society of the Blind Eye that her family is a huge source of stress. She's rarely seen hanging around them, whereas her brothers can be glued to their father, and her mom is nowhere in the picture. Well, what if I told you that all these things were connected, and when you lay everything out on the table, you get a lot more depth out of Wendy's character? And that post-finale content has been setting up the idea that Mrs. Corduroy isn't just another normie in a supernatural town, but someone who was more tapped into its weirdness like McGucket and Ford? During the show's run, it was assumed that Wendy's mom passed away prior to the events of the series. Alex Hirsch stated in a 2013 AMA that Mrs. Corduroy was no longer with the family, and Manly Dan's truck has a yellow ribbon on it, which represents a few things, but some of the more common ones are remembrance and suicide prevention. The Book of Bill also revealed that almost every dream Wendy has is about her mom, showing that the two were close, and her absence has left a void in Wendy's life. This is why her family has her so stressed out and why she seems to keep distance from them during the day. It's nothing personal, it's just as she's left as the only woman in a household with 4 men, with the oldest, her dad, being as emotionally mature as his youngest kid.
We punch what we don't understand!
It would make sense that when she's at home, Wendy handles a lot of the emotional labor and duties that her mother left behind, steering the plaid patterned ship that is their family, something she shouldn't have to do at 15 years old. So she tries to avoid it by being out of the house as much as possible, repressing any and all negative feelings that inevitably trickles out in her dreams, where she doesn't have to hide the longing she has for her mom. But here's the thing, Wendy's mom may not be dead after all. The graphic novel Gravity Falls Lost Legends is formatted like the episode Little Gift Shop of Horrors, where Schmebulok acts as a Twilight Zone-esque host, relaying 4 lost adventures to the audience and having his own segments in between, just like Stan in the aforementioned episode. During one of these segments, Schmebulok draws attention to his conspiracy board that has a couple of secret messages on it. When translated, one of them ponders if Wendy's mom is trapped in another dimension. And considering this is a code, something that requires a bit more work to understand, I don't believe it's merely a throwaway gag. I think this is an idea Hirsch actually had in his mind and decided to soft launch in this book, should he get to elaborate on it in future installments. The idea of Wendy's mom ending up in another dimension is very interesting because it makes you wonder how she ended up there and why she would have been involved with supernatural endeavors in the first place. It likely had nothing to do with the portal, since Stan failed to get it working for 30 years and Wendy's mom couldn't have vanished no more than 15 years ago. But odds are, all of these kids were born before she bounced, so her disappearance is even more recent than that. She would have ended up in another dimension through completely different means than Ford's portal, maybe through the bottomless pit, or maybe this was the result of her own high-octane adventures. I actually think there's a chance that Wendy's mom was an adventurer and paranormal investigator of her own. Picture Laura Croft meets Buffy Summers. Wouldn't that explain a lot of Wendy's own traits? It's no secret that younger generations naturally taking after their elders is a theme in Gravity Falls, but only so much of Wendy's rebellious nature and skill set can be explained by the fact that Manly Dan's her dad. Her athleticism, hand-eye coordination, and resourcefulness stemming from her lumberjack father totally tracks, but look at how bold and fearless she can be, how eager she is to get in on the twins' adventures around town. We all know she's a badass, but come on! I don't think all that comes from just being young and full of angst, or being a part of a lumberjack family. None of that has you moving like Gamora. I think her mom loved to meddle in otherworldly affairs in Gravity Falls for one reason or another, embarking on plenty of dangerous endeavors for the thrill of it, something that rubbed off on her daughter. Unfortunately, her carefree rule-breaking lifestyle and curiosity for the paranormal led to her being plunged into another world entirely. A thread that, again, could be relevant in another Gravity Falls story down the road. This could also explain why the Blind Eye apparently had a vial of Mrs. Corduroy's memories. It's not that she willingly came to them hoping to erase something she wanted to forget, but rather that she got caught up in something she had no business in, and and the blind eye acted accordingly. I hope we get to properly meet Mrs. Corduroy one day, but for now, it's really fun speculating on all the possibilities, and I'd love to hear your theories on her in the comments. She honestly might be worth making an entire video on. One of my favorite details in Gravity Falls is the fact that although the series ends with Dipper and Mabel leaving town, it's not devoid of their presence completely. And I'm not talking about Wendy holding onto the pine tree hat or anything the twins left behind. I'm talking about the fact that there's 2 other Dippers still running around. Dipper clones 3 and 4, aka Tracy and Quattro. Brought to life in the episode Double Dipper, these 2 were assigned to steal Robbie's bike in order to get him away from Wendy. A plan they pull off before vanishing from the episode completely, and we never see them again. Back in the day, this caused their return to become one of the longest running theories in the fandom. It felt like everyone wanted them to pop back out when we least expected it. I actually remember theories during the Wyrmageddon arc that Bill would either kill Dipper in the finale, only for it to actually be a sacrificial play from one of the clones to buy the kid some time, or that the clones would kidnap Dipper after all is said and done, fighting to see which one would secretly go home in his place. Of course, none of that happened, and in Journal 3, we actually got some more context to these 2 and their whereabouts. After stealing Robbie's bike, they eventually returned to the party, only to witness Dipper's massacre of their clone brethren. They hid in Dipper's closet, scheming to kidnap him in his sleep and take over his life so that they could date Wendy, though they clashed over the schedule Tracy proposed. Before they could put their plan to action, Dipper found them in the closet, and the 2 clones hightailed it out of the shack and retreated into the woods, afraid that Dipper would melt them with an open can of Pitt soda. Tracy and Quattro would live in the woods for the rest of the summer, seemingly evading rainstorms and the apocalypse itself, as they're shown to be alive and well in the credits of the series finale. I'd say they're managing pretty well on their own, as they're shown to have acquired raincoats to stay dry from liquid. They created their own shelter with a tent pitched and a fire going, and they're keeping themselves busy with reading and music. I don't recall Dipper playing the banjo at any point in the series, so it seems as if Tracy has picked up a new skill. These 2 highlight how resourceful and smart Dipper can be when the going gets tough. It's also a good thing they don't need food or water, so they don't have to hunt and engage with any of the wildlife, though I imagine they'd still crave any of their favorite food that won't melt them from the inside. And as long as they avoid getting wet, I don't see why they wouldn't be functionally immortal. Given that they know Dipper and Mabel leave at the end of the summer, Tracy and Quattro are 2 very intriguing characters to me that I could see popping up in future stories should they be set after Wyrmageddon, popping into town and mingling with locals who don't know Dipper and Mabel left or would buy that Dipper came back for a weekend or something so they can still enjoy their childhood by gaming at the arcade, throwing down on some dry ass food at Greasy's, or checking out some new books at the library. Who knows? If they did get caught by Seuss or Wendy, maybe they'd be spared simply because everyone else misses Dipper and Mabel, allowing the clones to fill the twin-shaped holes left in everyone's hearts. But they gotta hit the road when the real Dipper comes back next summer. Or maybe instead of going to town, Tracy and Quattro will pivot in the other direction and integrate themselves into the supernatural part of the woods, coexisting with the chaotic weirdness. Now there's a spinoff I'd watch.
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there. Ford's warning to not summon Bill Cipher at all costs has to be one of the most iconic journal pages in the whole series. Part of what makes it so striking is the amount of red blots smeared all over the page, a detail that's never explicitly pointed out in the series, so it was unclear if this was meant to be red ink or blood. But sure enough, it's blood, confirmed by the man himself, Ford Pines. The real-life Journal 3 reveals that being possessed by Bill for an extended period of time has terrifying consequences on the host, such as bleeding from the eyes, something that happened to Stanford, recontextualizing this ambiguously haunting page into some of the gnarliest imagery in the whole series. After Bill came clean about his true intentions with the portal, Ford gave a detailed account of his horrible experiences with the Dream Demon in his journal, warning about Bill's manipulative nature and his desire to destroy our reality. On the legendary 2-page spread featuring Cipher's silhouette and a diagram featuring Blind Ivan, Ford mentions how his right eye is so sore that it's bleeding onto the page, specifying that it's the cost of letting Bill take control of his autonomy. He also mentioned a couple of pages prior that his head was throbbing and his right eye was burning. Ford had Bill in and out of his body for at least a year, so it makes sense he experienced intense drawbacks, whereas Dipper just had to suffer from any damage Bill inflicted onto his body while on a joyride. Bill only had control of Dipper's body for a few hours. If he met Dipper much earlier in the summer and conned him into a similar partnership, I think the possession would have taken a deeper toll on Pine Tree, especially since he's way younger than Ford was. By the way, I love how Bill alludes to possessing Ford in sock opera. It's another great detail that made this show so rewarding to be invested in back in the day, and makes it just as rewarding to rewatch now.
Man, it has been so long since I've inhabited a body.
Gravity Falls never shying away from blood is another reason why it felt more mature than other Disney cartoons. I'll never argue that it's actually not a kid show, but it's one that's always respected its audience, never talking down to the viewer or acting like kids couldn't comprehend death, blood, or the fact that none of us are invincible. So if you're reading Journal 3 and notice dark red, if not brownish stains peppered throughout Ford's first section, know that's almost certainly his blood, though I assume any red writing is ink and not him morbidly writing with his own blood in a daze. So, what's going on with Stan's fez? Not the fact that its design changed halfway through season 1, but what it represents. Actually, we should probably start with the design change because it sets the stage for its new meaning. Overseas, the symbol on Stan's fez was removed from the first 13 episodes of Gravity Falls, until the show changed the design completely starting at Bottomless Pit. This is because the symbol was based on the Shriners, but they didn't change the design because it was being censored internationally. Also, bonus fun fact, the censored Fez episodes were initially the versions uploaded onto Disney Plus when the service first launched in the United States, but they were replaced with the original unaltered versions after a while. Alex Hirsch revealed in an interview with Comic Book Resources that they changed Stan's Fez because they were afraid of getting sued by the Shriners, so they tweaked the design and made it this Pac-Man looking fish eating a pellet. So, if Stan isn't a Shriner, what does this symbol represent? Well, it's directly connected to the yellow banner found in the Mystery Shack that has an Egyptian death mask decorated with a crown, stars, and crescent moon shape. This banner is for the Royal Order of the Holy Mackerel, a secret society that fans thought would become relevant at some point in season 2, but it was never even acknowledged by name. However, it got fleshed out in external media such as Journal 3, Dipper and Mabel's Guide to Mystery and Nonstop Fun, and the complete series box set. Stan and Ford's father, Philbrick Pines, was a member of the Order and gave the fez and other belongings to Ford, believing he joined the Order. According to Stan on one of the box set's hidden commentary tracks, the Royal Order worshipped a fish in a tank.
You know, sometimes people ask about my fez. Yeah, that's actually my old man's. He would come home late the first Thursday or second Thursday of every month. He had this, like, Masonic lodge that he was a part of, the Loyal Order of the Holy Mackerel, something like that. It's just a bunch of old guys who worshipped, like, a fish in a tank, and they did a bunch of weird rituals, something about brotherhood. Here's the secret behind the Masons, all right? I never really joined, so I can tell you. They're just trying to get away from their wives and girlfriends for one night, eat pasta, and tell dumb jokes.
This actually has pretty wild implications, as one of the deities in the Gravity Falls lore is a cosmic being named the Axolotl, who ranks above both Bill and Time Baby. The same Axolotl that Bill cried out to before getting decimated by Stan, in a desperate gamble to reincarnate, with the Axolotl ultimately setting Bill to the Theraprism. All of this means the Royal Order was worshipping the closest thing to God in this universe. And yes, axolotls are not fish, they're amphibians. But it's totally in line of Gravity Falls to have an organization fundamentally misunderstand what it is they're worshipping, and for Stan to not really care enough to learn the difference. Plus, Stan has an axolotl in the shack that he keeps in a tank, so make of that what you will. Obviously, the Royal Order of the Holy Mackerel and Stan's fez was not intended to be connected to the axolotl all the way back in 2012, but it's one of those neat instances where a bunch of unrelated things are able to seamlessly connect together and fit in neatly with newly established lore. I really like it personally. Season 1 of Gravity Falls was truly special for its time, and one of the many reasons for that was its ability to set up multiple characters and plot points before they properly debuted in the story. For example, in the second episode, Legend of the Gobblewonker, the town magazine that's hosting the monster photo contest features an ad for the Tent of Telepathy, one that depicts a little bit of Gideon's pompadour with big bold words above his head that reads, Child Psychic, subtly preparing us for his arrival 2 episodes later in The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. It's also just a neat little bit of world building that shows just how popular Gideon was prior to the twins' arrival in town. Another great example is Blendin Blandin, who of course appeared in the background of numerous episodes in the show prior to the Time Traveler's Pig, which that episode pointed out, popping up in Tourist Trapped, Legend of the Gobblewonker, and Headhunters before his big debut, fixing time anomalies that were caused by Dipper and Mabel. But there's one appearance that's gone unaccounted for all these years later, the Season 1 finale, Gideon Rises, where Blendin can be spotted wandering through the crowd at the scene of Gideon's arrest. Despite Hirsch acting as if Blendin's presence here was a huge spoiler during the show's run, it never came up again. Blendin's next appearance was in Season 2's Blendin's Game, where he never acknowledged traveling to the events of this episode, and he ended up growing some time here by the end, so that already creates an inconsistency with this moment happening after the fact. Even when he flees from the Time Police to evade punishment for getting duped by Bill, it doesn't seem as if he ever went back to this point in time, though he is currently stranded in the 1800s as of Journal 3. It's possible that Blendin mistakenly came here while trying to fix Dipper and Mabel's anomalies, but realistically, it was just set up for something Hirsch was never able to pay off and probably didn't have a plan for. You know, like how the Zodiac was never designed to serve a big role in the story and got worked into the finale. I do think if there's ever more Gravity Falls in the visual medium, whether that be a graphic novel or animated content, they'd have a golden opportunity to finally revisit this Easter egg and retroactively tie it into the story all these years later, making this instance time travel from a future endeavor where the twins return to Gravity Falls and Blendin, winding back up in his time traveling shenanigans, ends up shaving his head and traveling back to this moment for one reason or another. Maybe he had to smuggle something from the Gideon bot when no one was looking, or from the gleeful household before Gideon got in prison and Bud suffered the social and financial repercussions. I'm sure there's a way to make this work. While we're on the topic of Blendin and foreshadowing though, I love how his suit malfunctions always alluded to future locations and events from upcoming episodes. In the Time Traveler's Pig, the suit flashes the lake from Legend of the Gobblewonker alongside the petrified dinosaurs from The Land Before Swine and the Gravity Falls arcade from Fight Fighters. Fight Fighters being the very next episode, while The Land Before Swine was much later in the season. In Blendin's game, the malfunction gives us a glimpse of Northwest Manor, the Gravity Falls police station with a rather ominous color palette, and Glass Shard Beach, alluding to the episode's Northwest Mansion mystery, Not What He Seems, and A Tale of Two Stands. The final time this happens in the series is in Dipper and Mabel vs. the Future, with Blendin's suit flashing only two images, Bud Gleeful's car dealership during the apocalypse, and the twins' elementary school, alluding to Weirdmageddon Parts 1 and 2. Once again, I always adored this detail. It's something that isn't too complicated and takes advantage of the rather hectic animation pipeline. Multiple episodes are being produced at the same time, though they're always at different stages. So when an episode like this is in post-production, it doesn't take that long to just take a couple of finished backgrounds from other episodes that are being worked on and stick them in Blendin's suit for a second. A super simple detail that was easy to implement, leaving fans speculating on what was on the horizon for months. That's that Gravity Falls magic at work, dude! That's all the secrets we have for this one. Thank you so much to Artwork Coda for helping with the thumbnail, and if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace! Craving something new in the indie scene?
Well, if you're all gonna be such critics, why don't you suggest a better one?
It's great to have so many serialized comedy dramas, but what if we just went all in on the laughs and feel good vibes?
Move on up out of my way. I have something gotta do today. Got no time for all your games.
But I like the way you like to play. You sure you're having a moment to pay some mind to someone who could spend some time with you one day.
Right now, my homie Toonrific Tariq is funding the pilot for his adult animated romance comedy, Hey. It's shaping up to be one of the most unique shows in the indie scene.
That's what everybody wants, a straight couple.
You can be a part of animation history by heading to the Kickstarter and becoming a backer by June 10th, 2026. The Kickstarter page also gives you the 411 on the show, the characters, the crew, and more. Check it out by clicking the link in the description.
I want to create a show that the culture is proud to call its own. I want to create Hey, and I want you to help.
Adults love it.